Let's start with Timothy. Timothy, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Michael. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for being here.
That's my pleasure.
All right, Timothy, give us some background on yourself, and then let's walk through what you're doing for the veterans.
Sure. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Vantage Mobility International. We're a wheelchair-accessible vehicle manufacturer, and we're domiciled in Phoenix, Arizona. We produce handicap-accessible vans to provide mobility to the physically challenged, and we manufacture those vehicles here in Phoenix and then operate through a wholesale dealer network that has about 250 locations throughout the United States.
Okay. Now, how long has the company been around?
The company started in 1987, so this is our 31st year.
Nice. All right, tell me about the Military Officers Association of America. They're honoring you with a Distinguished Service Award. What was that for? What did you do?
It's a very cool award, Michael. Obviously, we're very appreciative of the Military Officers Association. Some of the former winners are Norman Schwarzkopf, Colin Powell, Tom Brokaw, Toby Keith, Elizabeth Dole, and the one person, the one name that stands out there, and it is Tim Barone for sure. But we're being honored for the Distinguished Service Award because of what we've allowed. The service that we provided for the U.S. Veterans. And we were the company that provided all the mobility transportation for the Warrior Games in Chicago this past summer. So it's virtually the Army and military equivalent of the Olympics. And we provided all that service. And for the last 8 years, we've been providing support for disabled veterans, with financially as well as counsel and consulting to help the military disabled veterans acquire their benefits.
Now, prior to being CEO in October, you were the CFO at Vantage Mobility for 20 years. So tell me about the transition.
The transition. It's interesting, Michael, being the second in command for 20 years is always a great position, right? I always got to recommend decisions, but I wasn't the final decision maker. So that was an easy job, right? I could come up with lots of ideas, thoughts, and really was not the final decision maker, so I couldn't be held accountable for anything, right? Now as CEO, it's really a unique experience now. The final decision comes to my desk and puts a lot more pressure and stress on the individual, but it's a job that I've really enjoyed. We've got a great company. We change over 4,000 veterans and disabled people's lives every year. And so very altruistic. It's a very rewarding job. We've got 350 employees here in Phoenix. And the things that we do for disabled people is just amazing. We give them their mobility and their freedom back. So either being in the CFO position or the CEO position, it's been a very rewarding job. Obviously, we're a for-profit organization, but the way that we change people's lives and really give them their mobility back, it's like analogous to when you're 16 years old and you first got the keys to your car. So that freedom that you're able to get, we're able to do that for this disabled community every day.
Now, you've been in the industry helping people and changing their lives for at least 20 years. Tell me about what's going on in your industry, the changes that you're seeing up till now, and where you think it's going, and best business practices.
That's a great question, Michael. I think, in the 20 years that I've been in the industry, it used to be the big full-size vans, the Ford Econolines. We put wheelchair lifts on the sides and the rears of those vehicles. And as the front-wheel drive minivans came into vogue, which was actually in 1987 as well. That's really the genesis of our company. Chrysler came out with their Dodge Caravan, which allowed us to lower the floor from the front firewall to the back suspension, which allowed someone in a wheelchair to be able to wheel up the ramp and get into the vehicle and be a driver or passenger. So the evolution from the full-size van to the minivan has really changed the dynamics of the industry in the late 80s and early 90s. And it really has been relatively more of the vehicles we service, both Dodge, Chrysler, Honda, and Toyota minivans, and really it's been the mainstay for the industry for a lot of years. This year, for the first time, we were able to convert a Honda Pilot SUV, and why Honda Pilot is so important is because the stigma of the being a minivan driver, the soccer mom, that so many more people drive SUVs today. SUVs sell in the able-bodied market about 2.5 million mid-size SUVs annually, and there's only 500,000 minivans sold. So people, given the preference, would prefer to drive an SUV. So for the first time, VMI has come to market just actually within the last 30 days with the Honda Pilot SUV, which gives, again, the drivers a lot more freedom to be driving a vehicle that doesn't look like it's a wheelchair-accessible vehicle, with a lot of style and the same kind of room that the minivans have. I think going into the future, autonomous vehicles are on the horizon. That gives the wheelchair person a lot more freedom. Today, if you're a wheelchair driver, that you can get into our vehicles and be a driver. But if you're a passenger, then you need somebody to provide that support for you. And not everyone has that. We call them caregivers that allow the person in the chair to have the mobility and freedom. I think autonomous vehicles, as we go into the next 5 to 10 years, are going to change that paradigm for sure. That's going to give the wheelchair user a lot more access to those vehicles, and that if they're a high quad or a high para, they're still going to be able to be transported and have that mobility that they all desperately want.
Now, you are instrumental in launching the company's first SUV conversion. Is this your next phase? You're going to move into more of the autonomous vehicles that your company's associated with?
I think the autonomous vehicles present lots of unique problems for us. Mm-hmm. Our industry's the addressable market's only about $2 billion, so we don't have all the resources that the OEMs have, and we'll get an autonomous vehicle, and then we'll have to retrofit it to be wheelchair accessible. So we're always precluded by our budgets, mm-hmm. but we really believe that this will change the dynamics of the industry. SUVs, we believe, will again expand the addressable market because there's lots of people who don't want to be driving minivans and would prefer to be in an SUV. So we've spent a lot of money and time and effort and R&D expense to get the SUV to market. We're anticipating that that's going to increase the addressable market nicely for us. And again, I really believe that it's going to be a game changer for the VMI dealers out in the marketplace. And then, again, over the next 5 years, I think in between now and then, we're getting electric and hybrid vehicles that present some unique challenges for us because of where the batteries are stored. We lower the floor in the minivan or the SUV by anywhere from 10 to 15 inches to provide the person in the wheelchair access to that vehicle. And so where we lower the floor is where the OEMs are putting the batteries. So we're trying to, I think before we get to the autonomous vehicles, we're going to have to figure out the electric hybrid vehicle and how we convert those to be, again, give our customers that option.
Okay. Tim, we're out of time, but thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
I appreciate it, Michael. You have a very good day.
You too.
Good luck.
All right, thank you. Timothy Barone, CEO, Vantage Mobility International, vantagemobility.com. You've been listening to CEO with Michael Yorba, CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining us. We'll be right back on the other side of this break with Ed Butowski, Managing Partner, Chapwood Investments.